Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Always Moving Podcast. I'm your host, Lyndon Suvanto, and this is episode 29. Still haven't canceled us yet, so let's see how we do. Today, I am proud to announce my very special guest, Dr. Melissa Tate-Scruse. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Hi, everyone.
I'm swell. I didn't sleep amazing last night, but I'm feeling fine. So
Okay, okay.
Maybe would you like to introduce yourself a little, maybe your history with your profession, mental health, and everything like that?
Sure. I've been in this profession over 15 years. Currently working in private practice here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I started my career in Maryland. Through the span of my career, I've worked with, children, adolescents, couples, families, all various populations, substance abuse and addictions, community mental health, residential treatment, as far as like more on the severe end of the spectrum of like psychosis and extreme aggression and self-injury, suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation. In my private practice, I work primarily with adult population, and that's just by by due to my schedule and just availability to work with younger people later in the day. But primarily work with adults, a lot of women and couples just going through
Yeah.
transitional things throughout life, adjusting to different life circumstances, all sorts of stressors, depression, anxiety, grief and loss, anger management, a lot of racial, social tension, stress these days, COVID stress these days. Um, I've worked with veterans for a significant amount of time. So a little bit of everybody. I,
Yeah.
I hope that helps.
It seems like you're all over. That's perfect.
Yeah, I am. I'm all over the place.
So what kind of led you to pursue this career?
It's really not an exciting story. I think a lot of times people think
I'm
I've
not
got
an
this
exciting
like.
guy. So.
The long and short of it is I took a psychology class my freshman year in college and fell in love with the concepts, the ideas. I pretty much things that I was learning in a book, I could look around and see it happening in life in real time, and it provided explanation and kind of meaning, rationale for different things as to why we tick and why we do the things that we do. So that is the long and short of it. Is just that I fell in love with the ideas of psychology that I was learning in class and stuck with it.
Yeah.
I think I've always been a people person, so transitioning to the counseling space was not monumental for me as a person. So here we are,
Yeah.
20 years later, 30 years later, however old I am, I won't tell. But
10 years later, and we're good.
yeah, just 5 years ago.
So I'm curious because I'm always thinking kind of, I don't know how to put it, but when someone's studying psychology and then you kind of just hang out with people normally, are you always kind of, they say something and then you're just like, I know the source of this or something like that?
Always therapizing
Yeah.
people, always like dissecting people. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I turn it off? Yes. But it's always kind of in the back of my mind, different things that I see, and not that I'm necessarily like dissecting people or
Yeah.
therapizing them and or coming up with like treatment plans, in Walmart, but just I probably have a different perception or a different awareness of different struggles that people have than the average person.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not always like trying to figure people out, but I definitely have a different awareness than
Yeah.
others.
Do you think that's helped you kind of, for myself, I'll use myself as an example. So I find myself getting less and less angry over small things because over the recent years, I'll be like, well, I don't know what they're going through or something like that. Do you find yourself more maybe understanding of someone with road rage or something going on? And you're like, okay, if I was in their shoes, I don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, I mean, so absolutely, empathy is the hallmark feature of, of our profession, of our career. So it certainly allows you to, twist the perspective and see it from the other person's angle, or imagine what might be at the root of, this outburst that you
Yeah,
saw, or this, something that you saw. At the end of the day, I'm human. And
yeah.
so I have my own, drives and ticks and likes and dislikes. And
Yeah.
but I definitely feel like I'm surely more empathetic
Yeah.
than others, and more empathetic. Yeah.
So one of the things I was kind of curious of, how has your practice and everything, how's it changed through the pandemic? And have you seen kind of
Yeah.
more numbers or stuff like that due to like
So things transitioned very quickly, from face-to-face counseling to doing something very similar to this,
yeah,
right, on a regular basis. And so, whereas I think a lot of doing telehealth and like video counseling, similar to a portal like this, is not totally brand new, right? It was out there, but it certainly wasn't something that the masses were seeing. Um, about a week ago, we got an email from Blue Cross Blue Shield, who was just sending information out to their providers. Telehealth services increased 75,000%.
little
So
bit of a
if
bump.
that says, yeah, so if that says anything, 75,000% increase in telehealth services. So that, of course, is the biggest shift
Yeah,
that we've seen, with the introduction of the pandemic. As far as like dynamics of like, the different things that people are coming to counseling for, yeah, that shifted as well. I mean, during the pandemic, we also had, in the United States, a tremendous racial, social, political climate,
yeah,
that was very tense at the very least. No matter whether you fall right, left, or somewhere in the middle, it was tense.
yeah,
And so I definitely saw a lot of clientele, coming forth with those presenting issues of stress related to social, political,
yeah,
racial tensions, and just tension in general. A lot of people were adjusting to COVID stress in general. So take away the politics
yeah,
of it all,
absolutely.
and it was just like, oh my gosh, all these people are in my house at the same time, all day, every day, or I can't stop eating, or I miss my friends,
Yeah,
or and then add in any physical issues that might have been happening. By physical, I mean like physical illnesses, like God forbid someone had COVID. I had some clients who were diagnosed with COVID, people who lost loved ones to COVID, people who couldn't visit their family members, or,
yeah,
couldn't go to a funeral, or couldn't have a wedding, or, things like that. So there was definitely a lot of stress in the air, during this past year or so.
um, how was the adjustment for you dealing with clients in a program like this? Because do you feel like it was more difficult maybe to connect or not be distracted?
Um, Definitely more distractions. So doing therapy in my house with other people who are also in the house, certainly adds to the distractions of, my dog barking, or my cat scratching at the door, or my
Yeah,
grandson banging at the door. So yes, requires me to be much more focused, and, to give notice to people I'm in session for the next couple of hours.
yeah,
I also found myself having to adjust to sitting at a computer all day. It was just
yeah,
not something I was used to doing. So just, taking breaks in my day, and allowing myself to go for a walk in the middle of the day, or only schedule a certain amount of clients, so that I wasn't just, stir crazy
yeah,
myself. And as therapists, as helping professionals, we were also going through the
yeah,
racial
yeah.
tensions, the political tensions, the social tensions, and physical illnesses that were happening. And so, just making sure I was taking care of myself through the process as well.
Yeah. Which that transitions nicely because we met 2 weeks ago, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't even 2 weeks. It
Was it
may
a
have been
week
a week
ago?
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nonprofit that we help with, Three Levels of Greatness, you were doing a training seminar about self-care. Do you want to maybe explain self-care and then
Sure.
some tips that you've learned along the way?
So self-care is definitely a hot topic these
Yeah.
days. It's a good little catchphrase that everyone is, quick to throw out there. From a mental health perspective, traditionally, or if you really do some research on where this term came from, this term derived, while back and was really kind of more in this like spiritual kind of like space.
Yeah.
But then it transitioned somehow into like pampering and like getting your nails done and getting
Yeah.
your hair done, right? It was just like a girly thing,
Yeah.
right? Now I think it's really hit a good sweet spot where it's not just the external care, but it's also the internal care of just making sure that you are good as an individual person. Um, I think it tends to fall more in the female dominated space because we are active moms and working and kind of exhausted, right? The exhausted mom syndrome. But I also think it's heavily important for men who
Yeah.
have a persona that they're often trying to keep up with, some sense of masculinity and providing and not talking about their feelings and not necessarily having a safe space to retreat to. I'll just go to the gym and go from there.
Yeah.
So just really trying to make sure with self-care that there's an adequate amount of rest, balance, support, and personal care for oneself before you get too exhausted or and when I say exhausted, not just physically exhausted, mentally
Yeah. Yeah.
exhausted, mentally and emotionally exhausted, that you just are out of character in your
Yeah.
reaction to things. Yeah.
So a couple episodes ago, I spoke about my own self-care journey
Yeah.
because like there was a time I just woke up and realized like this isn't me, this isn't who I am, but I'm feeling like shit all the time. And then for me, a big thing was like identifying what it was, like the sources of it. And it went from, social media is a classic one. We have a question from
Oh
a
man.
fan about that. But it was like I'd follow these accounts and they just made me feel bad, even though I shouldn't. But it was
Yeah.
like, I had to unfollow this or I had to, make up with somebody or whatever it was.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Identifying the sources was huge for me. So,
Yeah, no, that's a great first tip. Kind of trying to figure out why do I feel out of sorts? Like, what really is at the root of this? Is this I hate my job? Is this I need a vacation? Is this I'm not getting enough rest? Is there some underlying medical illness, happening?
yeah,
Sometimes there's maybe even something as simple as a vitamin D deficiency can create some mood disordered stuff. Social media, yes, can create some mood disordered stuff, and you feel silly for saying, seeing this post or saying this type of language or
yeah,
seeing, people say, you feel silly about it, right? Because you could literally just turn it off. But
yeah,
then there's something like addictive with our brains and kind of the way that we're programmed these days is to be very social media driven.
yeah,
But yes, identifying the source of what may be, kind of pressing the buttons, so to speak, pressing your hot topic buttons, is a good first step.
yeah. And would you have some maybe pointers for someone who works at home and maybe how they can deal with this mental fatigue or depression type thing?
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, for me, it's really being clear about. So you said something very key, and I remember distinctly having this moment myself. Is I just don't feel like myself, right? And so if you just sit there for a moment and have an I had this existential moment where I was just like, this just isn't like me. That was my statement. Your statement was, this doesn't feel like myself. My statement was, this is not like me. So existentially, let's talk about me as a separate person that I think I should be more like.
Yeah,
what was the me doing? Was me going to the gym regularly? Was me, did me have more sleep at the time? Was me, did I have a different job? Was the me making more money? Was the me in a relationship that was healthy? And compare the me that you believe your life should be like to the me that you're currently experiencing, and don't reinvent the wheel. What were some things that you used to do that brought you joy? What things made you laugh? What things made you smile? What things, made you go, ah, like where was your relief in that former me that you can recreate, that you can, bring back into your life? And so that was a big thing for me at the time. Was I was in a really crappy relationship. uh, I wasn't really being valued. I was an overworked, kind of life work imbalance was imbalanced. And I just didn't feel, I wasn't working out. I just didn't feel good
Yeah.
about my life position at the time. And so I had to reinstate some things that I used to do. Just get work and life back in balance, and break up with a crappy boyfriend and start playing basketball. I missed playing basketball. I got into women's basketball league, got with some old friends that I graduated or played with in high school. We put together a little team and got with a league, and I was back. I felt like me
That's
again. You
awesome.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like me again. So those are just like non necessarily like mental health things that you have to do. It's just sometimes you take a good look. Here's the takeaway out of all of that. Sometimes you take a good look at the people, places, and things that are in your life,
Yeah.
and what's contributing to your happiness versus what's contributing to your fatigue,
Yeah.
and start to cut some things out. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because that's kind of the way I went about it. And I like when you said we're not reinventing the wheel. It's like
Yeah.
when I did it, I'm like, wow, I used to be real happy when I did this. Why is it not
That's it.
this? And it was just like, wow, it's this, or it's this, or it's this. So I'm glad,
That's it.
I'm glad you could share that because we actually have several questions come in from fans because
Okay.
people like to reach out to you.
Awesome. I'm here for it.
Okay, we will start with how do you recognize burnout in your life and what are ways you could try to fix it?
So I think burnout is, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it in just almost every area of your life. So having been in a place of burnout before, what I noticed for me was the things that I used to like to do, I didn't either have energy to do, or I never felt like I had time to do them.
Yeah,
And so for me, it was a really conscious effort of making sure that I was doing the pleasurable things and enjoying the pleasurable things in my life.
yeah,
Um, eh, One other really pivotal moment that I faced was when I was off work, I was still thinking about work.
yeah,
It was like, I remember very distinctly, it was like a Thanksgiving holiday time, and it was Wednesday. And so, Thanksgiving's Thursday. I remember, cooking, preparing, all that stuff Wednesday. I even went into work for like an hour just to smooth some things over. Thursday, I remember Thursday, house full of people. I was hosting, house full of people, and I was thinking about going back to work on Monday and
yeah,
feeling like, ugh, you know what I mean? And I was like, it's Thursday. I still have Friday. I still have Saturday. I still have Sunday. But why am I consumed and already dreading Monday
yeah,
on a Thursday? And it's a holiday. Like, it
yeah,
was like a really pivotal, kind of light bulb moment for me. And so my biggest thing is, there's Monday blues and there's just blues.
yeah,
And so, everyone's like, oh gosh, it's Monday, da 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 da. But if Monday blues turn into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday blues, listen, it's time to reevaluate some
yeah,
things.
yeah. There's something deeper than just not getting
Absolutely.
Mondays.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even if you're at work all day and then you know, come home from work and you're still thinking about work and you're still doing work and still preparing for work the next day, then burnout is going to happen. It's not a if it happens, it's when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So next we will go, what tips do you have for finding motivation if you're depressed?
That's a tough one because, you know, that is lack of motivation is and lack of energy is really one of the hallmark features of depression.
Yeah.
Um, so the biggest thing is knowing that that's a symptom
Yeah.
so that you can actively combat it. So it's when that, well, I don't feel like it. But every time you say I don't feel like it, you're saying I feel like staying depressed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, and that's a sticky line because I don't want people to feel like it's their fault for being depressed. That's not what I mean at all. But what I'm saying is, you know, if you have a headache and you take Tylenol, it's like actively trying to combat the symptom that is bothering you in the moment. And so it may start with 10 minutes at a time. Maybe it's, also with depression, people tend not to take care of their hygiene or not want to get out of bed, not want to change their clothes so sometimes it comes down to 10 minutes at a time. I'm going to just go sit in the shower.
Yeah.
Notice I said sit in the shower. Like,
Yeah.
so it may be just sitting in the shower, letting the water, kind of hit you and just kind of just feeling yourself, right? Feeling the pressure of the water temperature, hot, cold, whatever you like on your body. It can be like you know, uh clean up my dresser.
Yeah.
It could be the smallest thing, but if it gets you from 10 minutes to the next 10 minutes to the next 20 minutes to the next hour before you know the day is over, great.
Yeah.
It might be scheduling one thing for yourself. I'm just going to take a walk this afternoon. Great. Look forward to taking a walk that afternoon.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what happens with depression is sometimes you're your worst critic. You're hard on yourself. You're internalizing a lot of the stress or whatever you're feeling. And so but give yourself the license just to do, one thing
Yeah.
from one moment to the next. Yeah.
And a year ago or so, like I was in that kind of state, and I just because I was having a hard time finding work,
Yeah.
and this was, you know, just before COVID happened, so there wasn't that kind of barrier. But I was having a hard time finding work, and then I'd wake up and be like, "Well, I don't have anything today." So then I started building birdhouses, and it was just focusing on building these birdhouses.
The
I
smallest
completely
thing, right?
forgot because I'm like, I don't want to cut my hand off or
Yeah.
whatever. But it was like it was this escape for an hour, and then it was just like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe then I fell back in, but for that little bit, I found relief, and it was just it was needed to
Relief.
find this escape. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be an old hobby. It can be a new hobby.
yeah,
My husband randomly found, so I have a big family, but he found these bikes during COVID. He got like 5 bikes for like $100. Only my husband, but he had like 5 bikes for like $100. And just leaving the house and going on a bike ride, like it was like I felt like a teenager again. I
yeah,
mean, I haven't ridden bikes consistently since I was a teenager. And so it's like the smallest joy. And so find your small joy, whether it's building a birdhouse, whether it's listening to your favorite song that you used to, jam out to in
yeah,
high school, riding a bike. Like, again, don't reinvent the wheel. Find a small joy and just get lost in it for that moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
So next, another question we have is how can I prioritize my mental health at my job?
So I would love to know the job because there's definitely some research about some jobs being more stressful than others, and
Yeah,
and as we all know during this past year with COVID, some jobs are more mental health friendly
yeah,
and allow you the space to prioritize your mental health more than others, and so um, So let's start there. Not knowing, completely blind what your career is. If you are employed with benefits, most jobs and most companies do have an employee assistance program.
Yeah.
Employee assistance program is a program that is offered as a benefit to the employees to make sure that their health and wellness is intact. And so a lot of times they will give you 3, 5, I've seen as many as 10 and 20 sessions
Yeah.
with a mental health professional completely free of charge to you. And so start there.
Yeah.
Start with, if you can, an EAP program that may allow you to address some of the mental health stuff through your work. Um, so that's one place. The other thing I'm always, because of my own experiences, is it your job
Yeah.
or is it, something else in
That's
your
really
life
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
that is fueling the dissatisfaction in your job. Um, but there is research out there that I want to say like 80% of people have job dissatisfaction. So, and that says a lot because if you're spending 1/3 of your day at work, you go 8 hours in bed, 8 hours at work, and then 8 hours in the rest of your day, right? 1/3 of your life is being spent at work, and never mind, pre-COVID, post-COVID commute time, and some people spend more than 8 hours a day at work, and so that could be contributing to your burnout, life dissatisfaction, depression, mental health difficulties as well. And so sometimes it just requires a good hard, tough decision about
Yeah.
whether you're really where you should be. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's gonna take a you have to take a step back and look on that one.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been there, so I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one is the next one is it's a big beast, I think, to tackle, and it's something that I think everyone tackles, and something that I had to battle with is the social media aspect of everything. Do you believe it's one of the main reasons for increasing rates of depression?
Absolutely. So, social media at its inception was really supposed to be a way just to connect with people, right? Just to kind of keep people in each other's face. But here we are some years later, and now we are in each other's face all the time. And it's become, especially in this last year, a platform for people to really voice how they're feeling. I think there is more authenticity. So there's an element of Facebook that, or of whatever social media platform that allows you to mask what's
Yeah,
really happening behind you. So the dirty laundry over here is not being shown. I'm going to show you that I'm on my way to Rio, or
yeah,
I'm going to show you that I just ate dinner at Applebee's, or I'm going to, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's used in this like fun, like, haha, look at me type of way, when there really could be some craziness and foolishness going on behind in the background. But the other piece, that I think social media has really become a platform for people to voice their
yeah,
opinions and to really share what they're thinking. And if you don't agree with someone is thinking, or don't agree with their opinions, which again during this racial, social, political climate, I think it has created some tensions for
yeah,
people, where they've just had to unplug. And so I highly recommend for people to do an unplug periodically and to be really cognizant of whether something that you're exposing yourself to on your timeline or in your feed is constantly pressing your buttons.
yeah,
Unplug, unfollow. You said it early that you had to just unfollow some
yeah. I
things.
just
I
told
was
you.
really, really cognizant.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was really, really cognizant of, okay, this person's unfollow. This person, oh, this news thing keeps coming up, block it.
yeah,
This, you know what I mean? Like, I really was very intentional, that's the word, about what I wanted to expose myself to on a regular basis through my social media stuff.
yeah. And for me, I think the wave of social media was, oh, this is fun and exciting. To okay, this is really I'm hiding whatever and I'm seeing all these people and it's really getting on my nerve because someone's succeeding, but I'm not there where they
But
are.
I'm not quite. Yeah.
And then it became, okay, more people are speaking out about what it is. So I'm like, okay, a lot of the negatives I see are starting to kind of turn into these positive platforms. So I'm seeing more and more of that. And I think maybe it's also because I purged a bunch of people who are,
That's it.
the government's doing this against me or whatever. Like, I
Yes.
don't need that every day to just see these
Like I
arguments
can't.
and theories. And so,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And recently, so not just social media, but media in general has kind of come under the microscope because, can you hear me okay?
yeah,
Okay.
your video.
I saw myself frozen for a while. I'm sorry.
No worries.
But I was saying not just social media, but media in general has really come under the microscope about what, is being broadcast or how a story is being told. I saw a lot of people really frustrated with sitcoms and like drama shows and TV
Yeah,
shows that brought the world elements into the dialogue. Really, really frustrated. Like, oh, this used to be my favorite show, but now
yeah,
it's too
yeah, yeah.
political. Or, oh, this used to be my favorite show. I'm tired of seeing COVID. I don't want to see my favorite characters in COVID. It's like, but they're in COVID. Like, they're in COVID too. They have to do restrictions in order to even broadcast the show. Like, they're in COVID. So I don't know. I think it's just really interesting, but I think what you said says a lot. Like purging your news feed, choosing what you watch, and being careful not to compare yourself to others, and um, just creating your social media feed. I think people forget that they're not just a victim of social media.
Yeah, yeah,
You get to create your social media circle just like you create your friend circle,
yeah.
just like you choose your neighborhood, just like you choose, your church. You create the community around you to be a reflection of the peace that you want,
Yeah.
or whatever you're looking for.
And I think a key thing too with the purging that I did was if I don't have a problem with the people. I'm still friends with the people. I just don't need to see what they're saying all the time because it's not
Yeah,
helping anything.
yeah. Like I'm good. Like I just need
Yeah,
to shield it.
yeah.
Yes, I get it.
Um, so I'm gonna wrap up here. You're pretty busy lately.
It's
So
okay.
one thing I like to do with my guests is I do a rapid fire, and I didn't even tell you we are gonna do a rapid fire.
Oh, you did it! But I like this. I think I might not like it. We'll find out.
We have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, seven. So it's kind of, just clear your brain, and we're gonna see how
Okay,
this goes. Okay.
I'm ready. I think.
And a couple of them I ask a lot of people, so you can listen back and see what their answers were if you want. So,
Okay. So am I just giving my first
blurt
response?
it out. Blurt it out. No
All
filter
right, let's go.
about it. So, what's the best meal you prepare?
Lasagna.
Ooh, nice. Um,
Lasagna. Love it.
dream vacation.
Hawaii. I have two. Hawaii, Australia.
Ooh, I lived in Australia. It's amazing.
Ah, I
Uh,
can't wait. The only thing that terrifies me about it is the insects I hear are really treacherous
Everything
there.
wants to kill you. If it's not the insects, it's the animals. If it's not the animals, it's the sun.
All of the above.
Yeah,
But I apparently want to experience the torture.
yeah.
So
Of
I'm
course,
here
you
for
have to. Yeah.
it.
Your hero.
I would
That's
have
better
to.
than vacation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoever sends me to this, I know. I would have to say my father. And I don't know if it's just because it's on my heart because it's Father's Day and my father passed away a couple of years ago. Um, but he's a dope, dope, dope spirit. So I miss my dad. I'll say my dad was my hero.
Mountain or beach?
Beach all day.
All day. Your first trip post COVID, where would you like to go? In a realistic sense. Like you're not going to Mars, but
Yeah, so I'm actually, it's funny I chose beach. I'm actually headed to the mountains next week. We're going to Pigeon Forge, kind of Tennessee area, which is for my daughter's dance national championship. So not my, ideal dream vacation. But I am headed, that'll be the first time that I'm kind of leaving town since COVID in a year. Where I would really like to be on somebody's beach. I don't even care whose beach, I think.
Florida,
But I love the Outer Banks though. That is my favorite beach location. So I gotta get there soon.
two more. We got your favorite movie.
That's too
Yeah,
hard. I have
you gotta yell
something.
something out.
I love Forrest Gump. I've watched it 99,000 times like I've never seen it before. I love Malcolm X by Spike Lee. I love fairly recent favorite, Hacksaw Ridge.
Nice.
Love that movie. There's so many. I'll just stop there. One of my favorite funny movies is Blended, with Drew Barrymore and 50 First Dates, Adam Sandler. So, if that helps.
Well, I asked for one, you gave me a list, but no.
I gave you like five. I'm sorry. I'm not following the rules.
And your last one, your go-to pump-up song.
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
If
My
you wake
go-to.
up and you're like, I gotta crush this day, what's the first thing you're throwing on?
Oh no.
Dominican.
It's probably a Beyonce song. He's my spirit animal.
Well, thank you very much. That has been episode 29.
Thank you so much. How fun this was. I appreciate the invitation.
I'm glad you accepted. Most people don't like to.
Ah, I'm honored to come back anytime.
And for everyone listening, that has been episode 29 of the Always Moving podcast. As we always say around here, let's keep this thing moving.